When we learned about it 10 years ago, a spare website that the company's founders had thrown together for the pitiful sum of $20,000 was all that was available. The ascent of the founders of Airbnb, who made rent by renting out air mattresses in their apartment for $80 a night. Since then, the market that Airbnb established has fundamentally altered the character of urban housing, spawned a brand new hospitality industry sector, and skyrocketed to a valuation of about $31 billion. In today's video, we'll take a closer look at Airbnb's rise to a multi-billion-dollar business. So, without further ado, let's get started. When the business was started in San Francisco 10 years ago, it was merely a pipe dream and a way for the founders to pay their rent. Let's reflect on how far the business has come and how its founders' idea of a novel way to make money from empty apartments for backpackers has propelled a novel form of travel and new experiments in contemporary living. For better or worse. The pitch for Airbnb's services was already prepared when we first learned of the business in 2008. Younger travelers and convention attendees who are unable to book a traditional hotel room, hotels in Denver, where 20,000 people are expected to arrive for the Democratic National Convention, are already fully booked. Through Airbed and Breakfast, more than 600 people have discovered alternate lodgings, and 50 to 100 new listings are added each day. Each Airbed costs $20 per night, while a whole house costs $3,000 on average. In fact, Airbnb wouldn't have existed without the 2008 presidential election. Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia, co-founders of Airbnb, were there to take advantage of the election's fortuitous confluence of an incredibly rare historical moment where a new type of supply could meet a groundswell of demand. It's important to remember that the co-founders claimed they could hardly pay the rent in 2008, and with the new business, they needed more cash. Again, the 2008 election gave them a chance in this regard. In an interview, Gebbia recalled, "The world thought we were crazy. However, the RISD grads had that $20,000 in seed money and cereal boxes with political themes to keep the business afloat. They were heard by Y Combinator co-founder Paul Graham and accepted into the accelerator thanks to their cereal ploy of selling Obama-O's and Captain McCain's for $40 a box." The company was off to a flying start 3 years later. With a common vision for visiting any city in the world, it had already attracted a whopping $112 million investment from Andreessen Horowitz, General Catalyst, and DST Global. It was also well on its way to destroying the outdated hospitality models. In a remarkably understated statement at the time, DST Global founder Yuri Milner stated, "Airbnb is on a path to become a transformational industry with its strong management team and engaged worldwide community." In fact, it was so transformative that the business later raised billions more on top of that $100 million Series B round. However, that success did not come without some sacrifice. Despite Airbnb's claims that it is boosting the local economy, it can't escape the charges that it has locked out local renters in favor of investors who are purchasing properties to rent to tourists rather than maintaining a thriving neighborhood for the actual residents who live there. A study funded by the AFL-CIO and the Hotel Trades Council and released earlier this year suggested that the organization had a significant impact on New York rental prices. According to the study, Airbnb has increased long-term rental prices by 1.5% or $384 per year for the average renter in New York City. According to the research, this increase is the result of both limited supply in the long-term rental market and stronger financial incentives in the short-term rental market. These kinds of statistics are what have prompted the occasionally abrasive pushback from local real estate advocates to voice their opposition to what they perceive to be the company's complicity in the rise in evictions and homelessness in the city. David Hantman, Airbnb's former public policy chief, stated in a 2015 letter to New York legislators that the majority of renters use the money they earn to pay their bills and stay in their homes. Around the same time, Hantman expanded on Airbnb's position to a different blog post, which is now ostensibly lost due to a website redesign. In fact, Hantman wrote in Vice, "Airbnb makes cities more affordable. The average New York Airbnb host makes $7,530 per year, which is a modest but significant sum that can significantly impact families." 62% of hosts in New York said Airbnb helped them stay in their homes. Investors are still placing a high value on the virtual house Chesky and Gebbia have built, despite the company's regulatory troubles, which are similar to those experienced by fellow marketplace services Uber and Lyft in the United States. According to the reports, Airbnb is on track to generate between $3.5 billion and $4 billion in revenue this year from connecting travelers with private homes and various other related services. Airbnb has raised nearly $4.4 billion in funding as a private company. That's a very long way from matching prospective convention attendees with air mattresses or sofas in Denver for the 2008 Democratic National Convention. So, what do you think of this? Would you opt for an Airbnb when traveling? Let us know in the comment section below. Until then, bye.